This is Michelle Goldman with MDF1 Project Week 4. Okay, so I think the biggest hurdle that I had this week in fulfilling the requirements was finding a site with the XML data that we would use to be able to pull into the app and parse and then pull through into that second view controller. I found the majority of those sites are weather-based. Not sure if there really are too many other ones that have the data in that format that do update on a regular basis. And so whether it is, and we'll just go through the code. The app delegate files are pretty standard. Same thing we've been doing throughout the month. Tab bar controller, so that we have the two tabs on the main view, and then just to control the views with the tab controller. View controller header file, go ahead and run the app so you can see it, so it'll make sense. There's the loading image. So of course we've got to have our NS-URL connection, the parser, so that way all of that works. And then with our strings, which will match what we've got here in the table view. Of course, then our parse controller here, our on-click button, and then for our table view, and then for the XML data. Implementation file. Again, we've got back there. In our enum file, or in our enum code, I should say, again we have the same items here that match with what the options are in our table view. The code for the tab bar button for the name and for the image, which matches up here, weather, and second view controller, so it's actually loading that XML data. So let's say, so we've got click on XML data here, and that is Elmendorf Air Force Base, which is pulling all the information. And come back here. So now for the XML data and the parse controller, you can see the names match. There we go. The names match here. So we've got location is exactly how it's listed here. Location, station ID, and our station ID. Where'd that go? Oh, no, I can't find the station ID. Oh, there it is. The station underscore ID. So that's how I was able to get each element in. Making sure you just match. So if you run it here through your XML data, you'll be able to see it. You can also pull it up through the URL, which is up here. So you'll be able to pull it through the URL and actually see it online. So we come back here to our first button, which comes back to the main view. So now we can choose one of the locations and then click on the button, and here we have Elmendorf Air Force Base location, and it's pulling the actual information from that element. And then same for each element. It will pull up. If I click here, this is actually for Wake Island Airfield. So if I click here and then click on a location, then it's going to load that information for Wake Island. The one thing that I found that my app is not doing is that by clicking on the button here and then clicking on XML data, it was not refreshing and pulling up that information for Wake Island. So when I load the app, whichever of these buttons I click on first and then click on XML data is the page that it will load from, even though in my array I have both sites listed. And I just couldn't find where I was going wrong with that. So, but I don't recall having these buttons as a requirement for the project. So I just left it as is. Going back down through the code a little bit. So to get the XML to update the objects, and so we've got the NSURL request that pulls that through, then the NSL URL connection, pulling it from the site, and of course requesting the data, being able to convert the data to a string, which puts that here in that string format, and then running it through the parser, and then resetting the parse controller. Wondering if that was where part of that problem was. Wonder if setting that to true maybe. But I didn't want to keep playing with it and then end up breaking something. Then when we go to the items in the table view, when we click on them, then it's going to present that information for each one of those elements. And this takes us to our detail view, which is, again, when we click on something, that's the detail view for that item. And of course our table view cell to be able to pull in and populate everything here, so it loads and changes from the standard format for that table view. And then for our buttons, for Alaska and then for Wake Island, so that way it will request and it'll pull the data from that current city, and that part's working. So all in all, I mean, the application seems to be working the way it's supposed to. I think I've got all the requirements satisfied. Just have that one issue where it's not updating the XML data when I click the second button. So relatively pleased with the work this month.